Hi friends, today we're going to be working with lesson 9 in your textbook, and it's the last chapter, or the last lesson in this chapter, and it's about subtracting across zeros. And we're going to work with it for a little bit because it can be kind of tricky sometimes, okay? So if you open up to page 463, you can follow along. So we want to model using base 10 blocks, okay? So we have learned about 200 different kinds of animals. 126 of those animals were mammals. How many of the animals were not mammals? Okay, and then we're going to draw the block and write the number. So we're going to draw 200 with base 10 blocks. So I have my 100, 200. All right, and we're trying to take away, and I'm going to write it down here so we can keep track of it. I'm trying to take away 126. Okay, so remember with this, we're going to start with our ones. But what do I do? There aren't any ones to subtract from. Well, normally I would regroup a 10, but there's not any 10s to regroup from either. So I have to go one step further and break down my hundreds. I'm going to break down my 100 into 10s. So I have 10 10s. Okay, and then I'm going to break down a 10 into 10 ones. So we had to regroup twice. All right, now I can start the ones. Take away 6. 1, 2, 3. Make this bigger so you can see it. Ooh, not quite that big. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm left with 4 ones. Take away 2 10s. 1, 2, and I'm left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not counting that one because I broke it down. So I'm left with 7 10s. And then taking away 100. And I'm left with none because I already broke that one down. So I have 7 10s, 4 1s, so 74 animals were not mammals. Okay, so let's look at what it looks like when we're subtracting with just the numbers, when we have to go and break down 100 to use for the ones. So it's called subtracting across zeros, right? The name of our lesson. So you can subtract across zeros. So we're going to find 400 minus 234. All right, step 1, subtract the ones. So we have 4 taken away from 0. Goodness. So we're going to subtract 1, but we cannot subtract 4 ones from 0 ones. But there are no 10s to subtract from. See, there's a 0 in the 10th place as well. So what you have to do is you have to go over one more and go to the hundreds. And then you're going to regroup 100 as 10 10s. Okay, so just like what we did, we make it 10 10s. Then you're going to regroup 110 as 10 ones. So in the ones place, we're going to have a 10. So then we can do 10 minus 4 is 6. Now we're going to subtract the 10s. And as you can see, there's a 9 there because that was what's left over because we regrouped that 100. Okay, so subtract the 10s. There are 9 10s left. So you have 9 minus 3 is 6. Okay, then we're going to subtract the hundreds. There are 3 hundreds left because we borrowed from the hundreds to make the 10s to make the ones. So there's 3 left, so we do 3 minus 2 equals 1. So then 400 minus 234 is 166. All right, so how is subtracting from 400 different than subtracting from 435? It's different because you need to regroup for the ones, but you don't have 10s to regroup from, so you have to go all the way to the hundreds to break that down to get 10s and then to get ones. Okay, so let's look through some of those. Oops. So I'm going to do some on your independent practice page with you so you get more experience with this because it can be pretty tricky. Once you get it, it's not too bad, but it's pretty tricky at first, okay? So working along with number 1, we have 0 minus 2. Well, I can't do that because I'm going to start with my ones. So I'm going to go over my 10s to borrow, but I can't do that because there's no 10s. So I'm going to go over to my hundreds, and I like to write as I go to keep track. So I borrow from my hundreds, so my 8 becomes a 7, so I'm left with 7 hundreds. Okay, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger for you. 7 hundreds. Then I come over to my 10, so I broke it down as 10 tens, but I'm going to use 1 for ones, so I'm going to just leave a 9. And then that means my 10 goes there. Okay? So it's a lot of steps. You've got to really keep track of where you are. So then I just would subtract like normal. So I have 10 minus 2 is 8. Then I have 9 minus 3 is 6. And I have 7 minus 5 is 2. Usually once you get it, you're not going to need to regroup again in most cases. So if you can kind of get that first step, the rest is pretty simple. All right, so let's try another one. Excuse me, friends, I apologize. So we have 700 minus 614. Again, starting with the ones, I can't do 0 take away 4. Go over to the tens, but I can't take from them. There's no tens. So then I'm going to go to my hundreds, borrow a group of 100, which makes it 10 tens. But I'm only going to leave 9 tens because I know I'm going to give 1 to the ones place. Okay? As 10 ones. So then it just becomes 10 minus 4 is 6. 9 minus 1 is 8. And 6 minus 6 is nothing. And I don't need to put the 0 there because it's the last number. You only need to put the 0 if there's another place that you're subtracting. Like if we had another column, like a thousands place, then I would have to put my 0 there, but you don't have to. Just think about how you write the number 86. All right, let's do a couple more because this is pretty tricky. All right, so we have 100 minus 76. Starting with the ones place, can't do it. 0 minus 6 can't do it, so I go to the tens. There aren't any, so I'm going to borrow from this 100, so it's actually going to become a 0. All right. Ooh, this is small. Sorry. The 0 in the middle is going to become a 9 because I know I'm going to. Ooh, this is very messy. Let me see if I can make this better for you. But it's going to become. I know it's going to become a 9 because I'm giving 1 10 to the ones place. So I'm going to have a 0 in my hundreds place, a 9 in the tens place, and a 10 in the ones place. Okay, so then I have 10 minus 6 is 4. 9 minus 7 is 2, and then that's my answer because there's 0 in the ones place. I'm going to do a couple more with you. Okay, again, we know we're going to be doing this with all of them because they're all zeros. So I'm going to go straight to the hundredth place. Of course, checking. I can see that the zeros are there. I don't need to borrow. My 9 becomes an 8 because I'm borrowing one group of 100. Okay, so I have my 100 right now. I'm breaking it into 10 tens, but I'm just going to write a 9 because I know I'm going to give 1 to the ones place. Okay, in the next one I'll show you could write a 10 and then break it down. I just think it's an extra step, but if it helps you keep track of it, I just want to give you that option as well. So we have 10 minus 7 in our ones place is 3, 9 minus 8 is 1, and 8 minus 2 is 6. So 613. All right, so let me show you what I meant about writing the 10 first. So I see that I need to regroup because there's a 0 in the ones place. Oops, 0 in the tens place. Go to my hundreds. I have 3 hundreds. I give that group of 10 to my tens. So see, I put a 10 there. But I know I need to borrow, so then I can cross it out and put a 9. See how it's an extra step you don't really need to do? But that's essentially what you're doing, is you're borrowing it and giving it down. Just like if there had originally been a 10 in the middle, which you couldn't have, of course. But so you have 10 minus 7 is 3. 9 minus 6 is 3. And 3 minus 1 is 2. Alright, so this is a little bit tricky, but as long as you remember that if you need to go to the hundreds, it goes to the 10 first. You're going to be left with 9 because you're giving one group of 10 to the ones. So it's going to be kind of whatever hundred you left, a 9 in the tens place and a 10 in the ones place every time if you have the zeros like this. So do your best with these, go through practice, and do the brain builders and problem solving as well, and then do your homework pages. And we're going to keep working with this. We're going to work with this, not just today, because it can be a bit tricky. Okay, so give it your best shot. See if you can apply. I apologize. See if you can apply that kind of thinking. So just always, thinking about having 9 tens left over because you're going to give that one group of tens to the ones. Okay? All right, friends. Have a great rest of your day.